Welcome to Business Prowess with Raphael and Juanita. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. We'll talk to experts and business leaders. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Raphael is the founder of 5 unique shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Juanita Cap is a public speaker who was in the ministry for 15 years. She has extensive knowledge of various topics such as leadership and communication, and has emceed many executive and academic events. Juanita is the founder of 2 unique shows. Her life motto is never give up.
Juanita, how are you? How's everything going?
Good afternoon, my dear Sifu. I'm doing so well, thank you. How are you?
Well, exceptional, but I'm only getting better every day. So
Awesome.
with that in mind, we really have 2 amazing coaches coming out with us who are really going to help us understand business models and strategies. Are you ready to bring them on?
I'm so excited. Let's bring them into the room.
All right, let's do it. We have David and we have Pete. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Hey everybody, thanks so much.
Yeah. So let's start with business models. Wow, what is that? Is that like playtime? Is it like building a little model? Is that what business is like? We got to build things.
Yeah, we get our Lego out and we start building.
That's it.
Do you know, ironically, actually, my last business was an architectural practice, the one before last. So we did used to do a lot of building. And that's I suppose one of the biggest mistakes we made initially was not really having much of a business model. We didn't know, like I came into that world as a kind of a technician. Like I think as a lot of like girls and guys do when they come into business, just like, I've got a bit of side work. Oh, I'm just gonna do that side work. I've got some more side work. And then before you know it, you're doing the accounts, you're doing the finance, you're doing the sales, you're doing the marketing. It's like, oh my God, I've got a business, and never really thinking about the model itself.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
very interesting that you realized it right away, right? Or did it take time?
No, it took time. Yeah. Not like, I think I realized it quicker than other guys did. But that's how my brain's made up. Like I'm a very like systematic guy and a very process driven guy, and I'm a very obsessive guy. So when I came into the business world, I was obsessed with learning. And I was like, oh, right, there's actually methods to this.
There is methods. And that's what we want to talk about today. So what is it about business that will be successful, right? Putting things in place. What are some of the things that we can start to build on a business model? Anybody?
It was for us, Sifu, when we started building New Beginnings Motivation, it was building out the framework on the ascension process and where to bring our people into. Because when I got started in the motivational speaking world, I thought I could just talk about anything and I could do this all on my own. And it took a couple of years for me to realize that I needed to have pieces in place and the right people that I could bring into the fold within New Beginnings Motivation, because there were things that I didn't know. Like I didn't know how to market. That was just not up my alley, right? I would try to do it and it wouldn't hit the right area, the pain points for the clients that we serve. And that was when I reached out to my business partner, Michael Faber at Unleash You Now, asking for his help. He became my coach. And when I was able to figure out the framework and the ascension process to be able to help those to be able to get to their authentic life, was when we started to succeed and to build where we wanted to get to where we're at today.
That's it. You know, one of the things that you just said, which not maybe everybody heard, you asked for help. You got yourself a coach, and that's huge. Because a lot of people, and actually Pete and I talked about it earlier, a lot of people want to do this on their own. They think that, hey, I need no help. I am awesome. And as awesome as you are, guess what? You can do more, right? So that's what team is, right? Together,
Yes, sir.
everyone achieves more, right? Bring it on, Juanita. What do you got going?
Thank you, Sifa. I appreciate it. Yes, I agree with what both gentlemen said. You know, we do need coaching. We do need help. We all basically have a general grasp about what the foundations are of business, but until we've laid those, until we've really mastered, you know, those foundational aspects, we have to wait a little bit and edify ourselves with great content, with contemporary content, so that we can build out that business model, whether it's subscription, whether it's franchising. If you have your niche, that's very important as well. You have to put that business model together. Like Pete said, you know, he thinks in a systematic manner, and that's exactly how business works. You have to work in a systematic manner to build and build out, because that's what we all want to do. We all want return on investment. We all want to, you know, go big and go far and live out our dreams. But if our foundation is not strong, if we don't have the necessary knowledge, then we are going to run into some problems. For instance, I'm going into publishing now with Meticulous, and the first thing I did is I got myself a coach who's helping me to learn more about the publishing space. So I absolutely agree with what both of you gentlemen said. We want to build sustainable businesses, and we can't do that without a business model.
Yeah, that what you've just said there actually is really, really important, the sustainable part. Now, I want to highlight something that, like, I've seen recently that I've actually accidentally fallen into like consulting roles. And it's because I got that systematic brain. And some of the companies that I've gone into consulting with, they're doing incredibly well, right? With no foundations, there's no systems, there's no like thought behind a business model. It's been very much great at what they do, like fantastic at what they do. Okay, so the actual product delivery is amazing, so they get word of mouth, and they're fantastic at building relationships. So it's very easy for them to go out and have a conversation, and because they're that energetic type of person, they're automatically drawing in business, and because their product is good, they get more business. And then what I've seen with these guys, these are doing, you know, multi millions, tens of millions, but no foundations in place, no business model in place. There's like team members really scattered. And now they're like, oh, I have no idea what to do. Well, we could probably take this to 20 million, 50 million, 100 million and more. And we don't have no idea how to get there. And that's where like a business model can really come into its own. But there is this massive market of where guys and girls they've just hustled, and they're just good people, and they're just good at what they do, and they've built big businesses off the back of it.
I love what you said, and it goes to show that you can create a great business by caring, by being, you know, a person who cares for their customers. And it shows that that's awesome, but that's not enough, right? So we have to create those strategies, right? To listen, they may be making 10 million, 20 million, but how do we get to the next level? And that's where the business model comes in. That's where putting strategies in place comes in. That's where SOPs come in so strong. And a lot of these people, they're just doing it because they're passionate. And you're right. So many businesses, their passion is what has sustained them.
It's sustained
temporarily.
Yeah, you're right. And here's the thing, is that these guys, and I was absolutely one of them, just like I was a technician rather than like an owner. I was an operator rather than an owner. And so my mentality was just to work hard. And I've seen this a lot. But what happens is it affects your personal life, because it like the 80-90 hour weeks doesn't just go on for a year or 2 years or 3 years. It goes on for 10 years. And then it's like your wife's friends are joking about, oh, we thought you were a single mum. Oh, we didn't realize you actually had a husband. Yeah, because he's doing the 100-hour weeks. He's like, still got that hustle hard mentality, which has got him to where he is. But then personally, loads of sacrifice.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, and it's that process, right? The strategies. I got to tell you, when I grow up, I want to get a job, I think, right? But I probably work 3 to 4 hours a day. That's it. That's it. And I have several businesses. It's because putting the right people in place, and we talked about this earlier, Pete, putting the right people, you know, energizing the business with the right people. That's also one of the things, one of the key ingredients that's going to help you be sustainable. But then the processes that we put in place, that, because when you're not there, when you're not at your business, how's it running? Right.
Yeah. You're absolutely spot on. And like, if there ever comes a time where you want to do an exit on a business, this is where systems and processes and a real great business model can really accelerate that valuation of the company, rather than just like, oh, we just sold it for 2 million, but it could have gone for 10 if you had all of that infrastructure in place.
So what is one of the strategies that we can employ as a new business, for example? I'd love to hear some tips.
I think for when we got started was, again, I'm going to go back to, don't think that you can do this on your own. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I remember in 2019 when I formed the LLC for New Beginnings, I was emotional. I was, trying to get everything going because my company was founded in the memory of my brother who passed away in 2018. And that was something you said earlier, Sifu, was, we want to think we can do it all on our own because we feel like we're unstoppable. We feel unbreakable. And I went 2 or 3 years thinking I could do that. But it wore me down. But not only that, the emotions were extremely raw with the loss of my brother. And it was when I brought my business partner, Nathan Frankson, and he was a shoulder I could lean on when the emotions, when I would take the stage and I would share the message of how his legacy pushed me to open up the business. It was when I hired an amazing marketing gal that is helping us right now to get our message out there. We have 2 marketing people in our business that take care of all of that. We have people in place that are our labor people when we do our live events and our virtual events, but more so for the live events. And when I finally realized that I didn't have to do this by myself, the pressure came off my shoulders. And that's when this, instead of being a hobby, it became a obsession. Like I think you said earlier, Pete, I don't remember who said it, but it became an obsession. It became a business because there was a saying that my brother always said that when people tell you that you can't do something, all you have to say is look back at them and say, don't tell me I can't. And to keep pushing forward. And so adapting that, embracing that change is when you will become successful, and employing that when you're becoming a new business, you'll avoid the mistakes that I made when I first started 5 years ago.
Yeah. I love what you just said, and it inspires me to tell certain people, oh, you can't do that, because I know they're gonna. So I put fire under them because I go, I don't think you can handle this. Handle what? It's too much for you, because I know that they have the drive and they'll be able to do it. What are your thoughts, Juanita, being that you're an international speaker, you're all over the world? What are your thoughts on what we're just talking about?
Thank you so much, Sifu. I absolutely love what I do. When I started building out my business model, I really looked at sustainability because I was in a space where I knew I wasn't going to be in South Africa all the time. I made sure, like you've mentioned, so most of you have mentioned today, to put the right people, delegate the right tasks to the right people. And I had to go and look, and I thought to myself, my approach would be to build that foundation, to build out my model, to see what my core values are, and then to look at strategies. Like SWOT analysis is very helpful. What are my strengths? What is the weaknesses of my team? Which opportunities do we have? Which threats, we need to be aware of? So I really worked very hard in the beginning, so that later I could work smart. So laying the foundation, actually with Meticulous Moments, started already in 2020, but I only went on air last in 2022 because my business number of years. So for 2 years, I did public speaking and I did all the other parts of my business, but I waited with the podcast and some of the other pieces of my business until I had the foundation in place, because I've always wanted to build a sustainable business. So my strategy is always to make sure that my staff knows what the core values are, what the strategies are that they are supposed to employ when I'm traveling, so that everything keeps running in the background. And I absolutely love traveling because I have that peace of mind that when I come back, everything's in order, everything's in place, and it's running like a well-oiled machine.
Juanita, I would like to just highlight something that you said there. Again, this is golden. The values part. Right. Here's a mess up that I made. So this is a huge frig up. And this is mega important for anyone that's either in business or they're starting out in business and they have partners involved, is that your core values are aligned. Because if they're not, and it might seem okay at the start, it might actually seem like an advantage that like he or she does things the way they do, and that's actually good because we're so different. They've got that, and we're like chalk and cheese, and it seems like a good thing. But if your values aren't aligned, long term, it can cause huge damage to the growth of the business and for you psychologically, right? So in my previous company, our values deep down weren't aligned. Deep down weren't aligned, and it took 6 years for it really to come out. And by the time we had 60, we were 20 people deep. We'd own buildings with, it was a good sized business, but deep down the values weren't aligned. And because the values weren't aligned, we both wanted different things. It's like a marriage. It's literally when you have a business partner, like I wish I started doing this like much earlier. We started having like marriage meetings. We'd call them something different, right? But they were pretty much monthly marriage meetings between me and my business partner, just to flesh out all the crap that's going on and to really voice what's actually going on internally for us. But here's the thing. I wanted a performance business. I wanted a big legacy, 50, 60, 100 people working for me. He didn't want that. But because we were never really vocal about it, I was running the operations and growing, employing. And there was always this friction because our values didn't really meet. And because of that, business exploded one day, right? And then there's friction and now unfortunately we don't talk.
Oh, wow.
Right. So if you don't get that right initially, you don't like address those things initially, because it's so easy just to go into business with someone. Oh yeah, we're mates, or like, oh, he seems like a good partner to go in, and then you're in bed with each other, and then you've got equity with each other, and then there's money involved, and you got to tread mega carefully and like take all the endorphins and all the fun out of it initially and go, hey, is this a relationship that I really want to get into? Is this right logically? And then make a decision.
Yeah. Juanita, you and everything that Pete just talked about is what you also talked about. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, that sustainability in a business is when you start, and Pete, you talked about it, is do you have an exit strategy? Because a lot of people who start podcasts, guess what? They record 20 and then you don't hear of them anymore. And I've even had people on my show and I said, hey, I started listening to your podcast What happened? They're like, oh, that. All of a sudden, they're like, so why did you start it, right? So you did it in a way where you knew where you were getting into to be sustainable. You took 2 years to make it happen. Same for me. I started mine my thought was March 2020. I didn't come out with my first one 9 months later because for me is doing diligence, right? Is it worth it? What's the sustainability? Who's going to listen? Who's going to be on? Look, we have two exceptional guests today. How did we find them? Do we know them? Do we? Pete, I just met, and Pete, I'm so happy we did, right? Because the values I can tell they're very similar. David, I just met, you know, Juanita. So it's when we can make connections. But here's the thing, what do we do with those connections? Because for me, I'm always, as an entrepreneur, as I'm like, what's my next business? And to be honest with you, yesterday I was already writing ads for my next business.
Yay.
But I haven't even started yet. But I'm also looking for the right people. So I'm writing ads not to promote the business, but to hire the right people. Because I don't want to be in this business. I don't want to run it, but I want to have the right person in it to run it. So I'm going to give them a portion of the business. It's my baby. But guess what? I have to believe in them, and I have to also guide them along the way. So one of the pieces of the ad says that they will be trained as well if they don't have that facility. So one of the things that I want to talk about is also training. Sometimes training your partner, right? And you talked about that, Pete, where you're not, it doesn't align, but maybe you need to be trained by your partner. How is this part of the business that you're doing? And then vice versa, because guess what? How many times have you been, and maybe Pete, you can answer this, have you been part of the business and then your partner didn't show up that day? Or your employee didn't show up that day and you don't know how to handle that part of the business? You're like, what do I do now? So one of the things that I always tell my employees, I say, listen, everyone is replaceable. Me first. I want you guys to take my job. I want you to have my position. But you cannot do that if you're not in my shoes. So let's go. Let's do my job. Show me how to do it better so that I can learn from you. And guess what? When I do leave this job to you, you're going to do it better than me. I'm sure you've had situations like that, right, Pete?
Yeah, I have had exactly that. I wouldn't say I was grooming the guy because that sounds a bit odd, but there was a guy who was underneath me, and I was like, this man is going to take my position one day. Like, he has got all of the ability, he's got all the motivation, like he's got it. But unfortunately, one day he got poached. Right, he got poached, and he was offered double the money, and we were already paying him a large whack, and I couldn't. I was like, hey, listen, I can't match that. Like I said, if you need to go, you need to go. But absolutely. But it was one of the best things that I ever went through. Actually, him leaving was a fantastic learning lesson for me. Like, on just the reliance factor, that I had put so much time and energy into that person and thinking, he's going to take my position. But actually, people can just get up and leave like at any time, and you don't truly know what's going on behind the scenes. No matter how much that we loved each other and that we were a great team and a great partnership, behind the scenes, like everyone has their own agenda, and everyone is always looking out for themselves. It was a huge lesson for me that I could never, like, a mentor of mine said this to me, because I said about him being an asset, and he's like, no, never call your people an asset, because they can leave. Like, like an asset is something that you own, like you don't own them, right? I remember that, and I was like, that's a really good lesson.
Yes. You know, one of the things that even now I'm training somebody, and I'm giving them an opportunity to own one of my businesses, but I already know they won't. But I already know they won't. So do I stop training them? And for me, the answer is no, because they're going to be way better off even when they leave than if I got rid of them now. But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be foolish. I'm going to put somebody else in their place, but I'm not going to stop training them. And I've done that plenty of times. And I've even said to somebody, hey, listen, I know you're not going to be with me. I said, but can I help you? Or how can I help you? Because it allows me to be a better coach. And you never know, 20 years from now, that person can go, hey, I have an opportunity for you. But if I stop training them, if I stop caring about them, an opportunity is going to present themselves to them, and it's a great fit for me, but they'll never come to me for it. But the fact that I care enough to continue to train them, to continue to have them level up, it's only going to be beneficial to me. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe never. But hey, you know what? I am inspired someone to be amazing. That's it. I'm good.
Yeah. Where I think wherever possible, never burn a bridge. Like there are absolutely times where it needs to be done. But if you don't need to, and whether possible, absolutely not. Like that guy that I talked to about a minute ago, he is actually, ironically, now a client of mine. In our current business, and has been for 2 years, and he's actually brought other people into our world because we maintain that relationship.
Yeah. Incredible.
I absolutely
Who's now your
agree.
client? Go ahead, Juanita.
Absolutely, I agree with you guys. Building long-lasting relationships is essential, because you mentioned something when you started earlier today. A lot of the business that we source is word of mouth, and our conduct towards others is very, very important. I've had the same situation where, you just get that gut feeling. It's touch and go. This person is not going to stick with you for a few years, but you still do the right thing, because we believe that as we rise, we lift. And it's not for nothing. It's not useless. It is imparting that wisdom, that knowledge into their lives. And somewhere along the way, a door will open for us, or someone will refer. It's just the way the world works. So it's very important that our business strategies always stay focused on the people in the business, building those long-lasting relationships, and like Pete said, not burning bridges, except if it's necessary, if it's a toxic environment, but always trying to make sure to treat people with dignity, to give them the best of you, the best of your knowledge. Somewhere along the way, it is going to pay off. And in all sincerity, we actually care about the people we work with. We actually care about the people we do business with. And that's the important part.
Relational, not transactional.
Yeah, I just want to jump in really quick on that. One of our biggest core values, it's our top one in New Beginnings, is integrity. And one of the famous sayings that my grandfather had, that he always used with my brother and I growing up, was, it's who you are behind closed doors when no one is looking. And it took me a very long time to find that right business partner who I could trust if something happened to me, because I've had an extensive medical history where there have been times that I almost didn't make it. And when I met up with Nathan Franks, he and I worked together on the special needs school bus here in Denver. He was my TEA. And when I saw his work ethic, I saw his integrity, and we're both Christians, that's when I knew. That's when I started handing over some of the responsibilities to him, because I knew if something did happen to me and I was no longer here, he would continue the legacy of New Beginnings and what the mission is about, to keep pushing our message to help whoever needs their help from us. So integrity is our biggest one.
Yeah, I freaking love that, David. I absolutely love that. And this is it, like, and I've learned this through life and through business. It's never about the what. It's never about the how. It's always about the who.
Yep.
It's always about like who you are being and who I am being. And it's always about who the man that I am being behind the scenes when no one else is looking and when no one else is watching. Right. And the level of character that I uphold and the internal things that I'd say to myself, and to not break those promises. It's always about the who.
Fully agree with that, because if you're going to have a two-face and you're going to be someone on the outside, but you're completely different on the inside, you truly cannot help the people that you serve. And, you know, if you can understand that and accept that integrity, you're going to succeed.
Yeah, I love the integrity part because it's doing the right thing even when no one is looking, no one is giving you a pat on the back. So many people get into business or they think they're going to be an entrepreneur. And you talked about it earlier. They're working 100 hours a week and they don't see their family and they don't see this. And yes, don't get me wrong. In the beginning, Juanita Evans expressed it, how she works super hard so she can listen. Every chef sweats it in the kitchen. But man, is that meal something you can enjoy at the end? Hopefully, if they're a good chef, right? So it's the integrity that we put behind it, because when you go to a restaurant, are you entering through the kitchen? No, you don't see the back end. You don't see, all you see is the nice table, the linens, the silverware. Hopefully you get a good waiter, you get a good glass of wine, you get a great meal, but you don't see the nuts and bolts that get all of that working for you. And a lot of times a great business does that. They treat the customer as the number one priority. When you go into a restaurant, they don't start complaining to you, oh man, we didn't get the deliveries today, we didn't get this done. So customer service, and that is your maitre d', that is your staff, that is your waiter, your waitress. So same thing for me. When I take somebody on, how well are they trained? So, and then if we're talking about integrity, what do they do when they're not working for me? Because if they're boozing it up every weekend and they're not, do I want them to be in control of certain things?
Yeah.
Maybe they're good for certain tasks, but not all. So it's also getting to know the people, I guess, you're getting into bed with, right? Because it doesn't matter. I just told you I'm starting a new business, but I'm looking for the right people. But when I find them, I want to know what they do on the weekends. What do they do? Where do they go on vacation? How do they feel about family time? Because that will tell me a lot more about their integrity on how they treat their family and how they treat themselves too. What are your thoughts on that?
Fully, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you read the book Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh?
No.
It's it's a phenomenal story. It's a phenomenal. In fact, in my previous business and our current business, one of our core values, which is to deliver happiness and deliver wow, was based off that. And he built the company Zappos, which in the end Amazon bought out. And at the time when they bought it out, it was one of the biggest purchases in Amazon history. The reason Amazon bought it is because Tony had built this culture like no other, and it was purely through service, purely through customer satisfaction. One of the stories that they told on that was that, so they had this like huge customer service rep, like bay of customer services, and they would just do anything for their clients. And one time they sell shoes, they sell trainers, and they do things like, if someone would order like a pair of trainers and they'd order it on like a 5-day delivery, they send it like a special delivery and it would arrive the next day saying, hey, just wanted to give you a wow. Right? They do things like that. But one of the things that they did was, one of their customer service people, a client called them up and said, I'm busting for a pizza, right? I really, really want a pizza, and it wasn't actually one of their clients. It was one of the directors that was doing the call, and he was just doing a test to see if his customer services would give a wow experience. And the customer service rep was like, "Not a problem. I'll find you a pizza and I'll get it delivered to your hotel." And so they would go to this crazy extent of customer service, and they built this amazing business on it. But it was just like going back to what you were saying there, like service. And you go to that extent, you can build like a multi-billion-dollar company, which is what he did, and bought out by Amazon purely on creating culture around service.
That is awesome.
I always talk about cult, right? And think of creating a cult. I really mean culture, right? So think about the word cult. It's people who are going to follow you blindly, but cult is not always the best thing. But when you create that culture and they follow you because of what that culture stands for, what you've built. So thank you for that story, Pete.
Absolutely love that. Like my team and I, it's just not random people. Like I shared about Nathan, we work together on the school bus, but the other guys and the significant others, there are the guys and I, we get together down at the Cigar Lounge here in Parker, Colorado. And when the Denver Nuggets won the game, I was hanging out with some of the guys down there watching the Nuggets win. And we also go to church together. We like to go bird hunting together, big game hunting together, and we all love going to Disney, this kind of thing. So we're always doing stuff together because it's not only just about bringing the team together, but the team is more than just a team. It's a family. That's what I wanted to build within New Beginnings Motivation, because I wanted them to understand what the mission was for New Beginnings. It was based off of the memory of my brother. Once they understood that and knew the mission that we served the underdog, that's when they all embraced it. That's when we all wanted to be together all the time. And if one of us needs help, we're all there in a heartbeat to love and support them. So I love what everybody shared.
Mm-hmm. So Juanita, let me ask you, you see so many different businesses because you're traveling. You go to hotels, you're going on airplanes, you're going on Ubers, you're going on taxis, you're going to different restaurants, you're all over the world. What's the one common thing that you look for when you're traveling?
That's an interesting question, and I'm glad that you asked it, Sifu. When I started my business in 2013, I was still in the ministry. So I'll backtrack a little bit to explain why I look for what I look for. And I really worked, with the youth. And I always brought in this culture of fun and joy and excitement. And when I put my team together for Meticulous, that's the culture that I created. So Meticulous Moments, the podcast, is about community upliftment through leadership development, because those are 4 things that people believe in, especially after COVID. But I always look for, when I'm working, whether it's a waitress, whether it's a attendant, whether it's someone that's doing public speaking with me or also hosting the event with the organizers, I always look to see if they are having fun, if they are excited, and if they are joyful about it. And if I see that there's a little bit of lack of fun and joy and excitement, then I make sure to lift the energy in the room so that they can start to experience what it's like to really enjoy what you do. Because the moment that you enjoy what you do, when you're excited about it, when there's that joy, that fulfillment, that's the moment that the customer service just levels up. That's the moment that we learn from each other. And that's the moment where someone just has that moment where their eyes just open and they see, well, I am good at what I do. I have all these wonderful people around me. I have all these opportunities. Let me seize the day. Carpe diem. Let me do something about it. Sometimes it just takes that little bit of fire. But most of the times, I have to say, Sifu, I've been very impressed with the places I've been. Lots of the airports, even the staff there, I often talk to the staff that's cleaning. When I'm between flights, I talk to them, I interview them, I interview the Uber drivers, I ask them where they're from, and most of them have that fun and that joy and that excitement for what they do. So necessarily, their customer service is great.
Love it. And so when we are out of our own environment, when we are in someone else's environment, for me, it's always I'm a people watcher. I got to tell you, I love to see people interact, and I love to see what people do on their own, because we've all been talking about integrity, right? And what is it that somebody does? Even sometimes when I'm driving and I pull over and I see somebody driving next to me, I'm like, what are they doing? What are they thinking? So I'm always trying to figure things out, because for me, I did a whole talk on SEO, right? And everybody, what is SEO? Search engine optimization. But I took it to a different twist, this see every opportunity. So, for example, I was talking to a client about my new business, and he's like, oh my God, I love what you're going to be doing. This is incredible. Da, 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 da. And in watching him be excited about my new business, he gave me an idea. I said, oh, I love what you did. He's like, what'd I do? I said, it was the words he said. I said, oh, I'm going to tweak it. Just that tiny little tweak, just to add more to the business. He's like, wow, I did that. I said, of course you did. So we got to empower the people that we are helping, because guess what? They're going to empower us as well, right? Thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, particularly if you're building a business and you've got a team, it's mega important. And if you've got a vision for the business, it's critical that every guy and every girl that's on your team is aligned with that and is on board with the mission, and they're empowered to be there. It's the worst when if you're going into a team meeting and you're all fired up as a business owner, but the rest of the team are, oh, it's Monday. Oh, we've got to do this week and got this week. That's the worst feeling. So in empowerment in a team, critical.
Yeah.
Fully agree with that. Like when I go to events outside of my company, I'm same like you, Sifu. I love to talk. I'm a very loud person. I love to sing. I love to engage and all that jazz. But when I first get to an event, I kind of stand back and I listen and I start connecting slowly with people. And when I get the opportunity to sit down and start talking with them, I start really focusing on me to limit the amount of words that come out of my mouth so that I can listen to the individual to see what they do, what they need, what they want. And if they address one of their pain points that they're struggling within their life, that opens up the opportunity when they look at me and ask, hey, Dave, what do you do for a living? Because my practice is I don't shove what I do for a living onto people. I don't like doing that. I don't like the style of motivational speakers. Well, this is how I can help you. This is what I can do. I can do this right now. Here's a package. This is what you can buy. When I can connect with them and become a friend and become a brother, and to be able to let them open up to me and feel comfortable and secure and know that they're in a safe space, then that's when I know I'm making that connection. And that's when I know, okay, now I can tap into my repertoire. That's when I can start showing that I truly do care about what they need. And it's not about the money. It's about the fact that I truly do care about and want to help them.
Without a doubt. So we are going to be wrapping it up, and I'd love to hear just a quick tidbit as to even going into partnership or hiring a new person or a new venture. Anyone, pick one.
Yeah, I'll go on hiring. I think this is important. Some of the best people that I hired didn't necessarily have all the skill sets, all the abilities. Some people just came in and they had a strong pulse. However, the real key attribute was that they were motivated. Like you like if there's ever a motivation problem, you can't teach that. You can't solve a motivation problem for someone. You can solve abilities and skill sets. Abilities and skill sets, so you can train that. That's trainable. Motivation, on the other hand, you can't. So if someone is coming into your team, or you're thinking about they're coming into your team, if they don't show initiative, and you can see that there's motivational issues there, then it's probably a no-go. Whereas if they're lacking in abilities and skills, that's something you can train.
Love it. And I totally agree with you, because I've hired people just on the way they treated other people. Just on that. I didn't even know what skills they had. They were just, everybody wanted to be around them. I'm like, poof, I want that person. And sometimes, one of the things I do a trick. I have a business card. It's called my star card. And what I do is when I encounter a person and they're amazing, I go, listen, I think you're a star. Here's my card. If you ever want a different career, or if you want to move from where you are, or change things in your life, hit me up. They're like, what? I'm like, I think you're amazing, and I would want you on my team. They're like, wow, that's the nicest compliment. I say, yeah, don't lose my card. If it's not today, it could be a year from now. When you're ready, you never know what opportunity I will have for you. And they're like, wow, that's cool. I just did that just like 3 days ago, actually.
I love that. I'm going to take the new adventure because I love anything new since new beginnings. One of the biggest things I always struggled with was taking those new adventures when I first started this company. And when I was able to trust myself and to push away the negative naysayers, the toxic people that would say, Dave, you're going to fail. Dave, you're going to falter. Dave, this is not going to work. Once I was able to trust the inner strength within myself, and I was willing to take that leap of faith, and I knew that if it was a new partnership with an organization, and I was willing to take that leap of faith, that's when I knew internally that if I don't do this, I'm not only doing a disservice to myself, but I'm doing a disservice to the potential client, to the potential individual. And again, I'm going to share with my niche, the underdog. My story, Juanita's story, Seafood's story, Pete's story could change somebody's life and possibly save that individual's life. So if you take that leap of faith and take that opportunity, nothing's going to stop you, because the only person that can stop you from achieving greatness, it's not those around you, it's you. So trust that inner strength that you have within yourself. Take a moment, take a breath, sleep on it. And if you feel it in your heart and soul, go after it. Take that new adventure, create that new beginnings, because it will reward not only you, which is not the most important thing, but it'll reward the people that you're serving.
Thank you. Great stuff. Juanita.
Sifu, I think Pete summed it up so well. Pete summed up this whole session in just about one sentence. Business models and strategies are all about the who the person is. And then David added, are they invested? Are they compassionate? And Pete mentioned, are they teachable? Dave mentioned relationships. Sifu, you mentioned that as well. What is their motivation in life? And how, very important that you mentioned, Sifu, that's going to stick with me, looking at how they treat other people. So absolutely incredible session. Thank you, guys. I had a blast as always. Thank you, Sifu.
Gentlemen, have an incredible and exceptional Friday. Happy Friday. Did I say that yet? No, if not, happy Friday. Make it an exceptional one. Do us all a favor. And if you like the show, please share it, like it, and tell your friends about it. Tell your loved ones, right? And maybe tell your future business partner to take a look. All right, you guys. Have yourselves an exceptional day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye. Bye. Sifu.